やっとそんなにお社が欲しいの？欲しいさ。お社をいただくっていうのは
Why did no one ever tell me Noragami was so good? I can't believe I slept on such an interesting and fascinating series for all these years. Like, I kid you not, I really wish I could go back in time and tell myself, hey, you gotta read this or like check out this series like back in 2020, 2018 when the series first came out, because it is really good. Granted, at the time this series came out, I wasn't really too big into like these type of anime. I was more into like Dragon Ball, My Hero Academia. But funny enough, this is actually made by the same studio behind My Hero Academia. I believe they started animating this not too long after they finished that series, which is also a reason why we don't have a third season, because I believe they focus all their time and effort to animate My Hero Academia. City Bones is actually a really good studio, but I do believe that they're never gonna make like a third season. For one, they're basically doing other projects such as the upcoming Gachi Akuda. I believe that's the first time I was able to pronounce the name. But Noragami to me is a series that people recommended me for like a long time, but I refused to actually watch it. I don't know why, because I thought it was kind of like Bleach, and Bleach is a series that I like, but different story. But yeah, when I first watched the first episode, the only reason I actually watched this series, one of my friends kept recommended it to me. Also, one of my friends on Instagram cosplayed one of the characters known as Bishimon. She made really cool armor. This armor, really good cosplayer. And it got me thinking, I gotta check out this series because I have no idea what their character is, and I love the armor. So I eventually actually watched the show, and my gosh, I was literally blown away by the first episode, by the animation, by the voice work. It's really good, and I love the premise of it because it's kind of like Bleach and kind of like JJK in a way. Like, if you combine both of these elements and made it a little bit different, what do you get? You get pretty much Noragami. This is pretty much like the birth child of Bleach and the predecessor to Jujutsu Kaisen, which I feel like this series had an impact on Jujutsu Kaisen. That's just my headcanon, but I like it. So pretty much the premise of this series is gods exist, but the only reason they exist is through the power of belief of humanity. And when people die, they essentially cross into this other world, to the foreshore, where they're reborn as spirits, and when these spirits are claimed by gods, they become their weapons of sort, which is a really interesting. And then we have our main girl, Iki. Pretty much after an accident where she meets Yato, the god of she meets this random broke god, Yato, and after an accident she's paralyzed. She's pretty much dead, but not really. She becomes a half phantom with the ability to cross into both realms, the human world and into the foreshore world, where she comes across these other gods, interacts with them. She has adventures with Yato along with Yuki, which is pretty much his weapon of choice. And the cool thing about this is I like the fact that gods don't have physical weapons like we humans do. They have to form a connection with spirits in order to make their weapons. So essentially their weapons are living and breathing weapons of sorts. I mean, they're dead, but they're living weapons with emotion. And the stronger they are, the more that they believe in themselves, the more stronger of a connection they have to their god, the stronger their weapons can be. There can also be blessed weapons, and it's just really nice. I like the concept because these gods exist because we as humans keep believing in them. The more followers, the more shrines one god has, the more stronger a deity is, such as the 7 gods of fortune, which is where Bishimon ultimately falls in, which is really cool concept. I haven't seen too many people do something similar to this, and if you have a series similar to this, please recommend it to me. I want more of Noragami. But overall, I don't want to spoil too much of what happens, but just know a lot of crazy things happen. We get to see the background to Yatsu's origin. We get to see like what happened to him. We get to see Yuki's origin. Actually, I don't believe we get an origin to his backstory because it was never really explained. It was just explained he was a spirit wandering, he was scared and lost until Yato found him. And Iki, the Hiroi, whatever her name is, Iki pretty much is just sticking around with Yato because they made an agreement saying, hey, I'll give you money, I'll be by your side if you can help me like return to my normal body. I don't want to astral project, I just want to be a normal human. But ultimately, as the series progresses, she forms a really good connection to Yato. Ultimately, it feels like a romantic type of sense, but not really, because you have to think about it like this: these gods are thousands and thousands of years old. Ultimately, these humans will die and end up forgetting them, which is where Yatsu's situation comes from. He's a god of calamity, meaning he's one of the dirty gods. Like he's broke. Like no one really believes in him because he's such a forgotten god. No one really knows who he is, and it's not until he meets Hiroi that he makes a really good connection to the human world, and he finds a motivation to live. The reason that he does things the way that they are is because of her. Without her existence, he wouldn't have any motivation to be a better person. And then you have these things called Noros, which is pretty much our weapons anyone can use by other gods. But by becoming a Nora, you're ultimately being shamed on, because if anyone is using you, it's looked at disgustingly. It's looked at, ew, you're being used by other gods, why would I want you? And it is really such an interesting concept. I just love the fact that we get to see, like, this is kind of like Bleach in the sense where Ichigo astral projects into the soul society. He's able to interact with the soul realm and the human world. This is kind of like that in a sense. And like the evil spirits in this world are called phantoms, which like they're powered by negative energy, by humans' emotion, and the reason that they exist is to cause harm onto humanity, because the reason people like kill themselves is because these phantoms like take a hold of them. And you can see how Yato is like a changing god. He's a broke god, yeah, he's a god of calamity. There's other gods, such as the god of misfortune, such as the god of poverty, the god of war. There's a lot of cool gods, and there's actually like a god hierarchy to this. It is really interesting, but I don't want to get into spoilers. Also, I'm only talking about the anime because I've only seen the anime. I haven't read the manga. I will be reading the manga this week or next week, so be sure to check out my video on that later on. But I do love how the anime just explores these like things. They give hints as to who Father is. They give hints as to what the true Nora origins are, or what happens to like when blessed weapons exist. What is Hiroi, the only human who's able to be a half phantom? You get teased with that at the end credit of season 2. It is such an interesting world. It's such an interesting like series. Like it blows my mind I never got into this series a lot sooner. And I know the manga actually ended like a month or two ago, which is kind of crazy. So like the series is pretty much completed, but it's a shame we'll never really get it adapted for like another season, because obviously Studio Bones is when they made it, so it doesn't look like they'll be animating it anytime soon. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on Noragami. It blew me away. It's a really good series, really great watch. I binge watched it in 2 days, and it's crazy because I don't binge watch a lot of shows anymore. But this is a series that got me so invested. I just want more of the series. I just want to see more of Iki, Yuki, and Yato. I just want to see more of them. Also, Bishimon, she's a great, she's such a cool character. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on Noragami. If you've seen it, what do you think about it? Do you wish we had a 3rd season? Have you read the manga? Please don't spoil the manga. I'm gonna read it. I'll be making a sequel to this video eventually. So yeah.